I have a lot of perks to go over, and a wide range of viewers with varying attention spans, so let's get right into this. I should mention 3 things before we start though. First, you may notice some perks are missing here. Don't worry, the rest are just immersing themselves into the background. Secondly, I'm only going to spend about 30 seconds talking about each perk to keep this video as concise as possible. I welcome you to leave a comment below about anything I didn't mention. And thirdly, the tier list is organized by how great an impact each perk can have on the outcome of a match. Factors like how powerful a perk's effect is, how often it can be used, or how versatile it is are all considered when ranking each perk. So with all that being said, let's begin. First up is Ace in the Hole. This is a great perk for farming items, but it's totally luck-based and offers no chase, healing, or detection benefits to seriously consider using it in a real game. Plus, who knows if you'll find a chest, or if your teammates will have looted them already. I'll be putting it in the low tier. Next we have Adrenaline Rush. This is the definition of a game-changing perk. Instant speed to escape a chase, instant heal to take a hit, and because you know you'll be healed the moment the last generator pops, you can make some insane plays you'd never think possible. I can't tell you how many times I've seen Adrenaline Rush save my teammates. This is going into the highest tier. Next is Aftercare. This perk gives you a lot of situational awareness since it allows you to see your teammates in a distance. However, you have to heal or unhook a teammate to gain vision of them, and if you get hooked, you lose that vision. Even so, I think it's a solid perk that goes well with certain builds, but the conditions you have to meet in order to gain its benefits are why I'm putting it in the medium tier. Next is Alert. This perk is great for keeping tabs on what the killer is doing. If they're in a chase, you'll see their aura when they break a pallet. If they're patrolling the map, you'll see their aura when they break a generator. Although some killers like Nurse and Huntress don't break many pallets, it's still an all-around great perk that helps you make better decisions, so I'll be putting it in the high tier. Next up is Autodidact. I really wanted to like this perk, but skill checks are just too unreliable to guarantee you'll get enough tokens to gain its benefits. Also, you have to suffer an initial penalty to your healing speed, which could be the difference between healing up a teammate or getting caught out. Also, most players use self-care and tend to run off to heal themselves, so I'll be putting this in the low tier. Next we have Boil Over. This is a fun, gimmicky perk and could save your life sometimes, but more often than not, you'll still wind up getting hooked. It's also countered by Iron Grasp and Agitation. Plus, getting picked up by the killer isn't a position you ever really want to be in. Running a perk that helps you prevent getting down in the first place seems like a smarter idea to me. I'll be putting this in the low tier. Next is Borrowed Time. This perk is a lifesaver. It lets you rescue teammates from campers, gives them a movement speed boost when they get hit, and even lets them body block one-shot attacks for you. Its only drawback is that it only activates while inside the killer's terror radius, so killers like Wraith and Myers can still camp sometimes. Even so, this perk is one of the highest impact perks in the game. Next is Botany Knowledge. It's a decent healing perk that's pretty straightforward. Faster heal times, slower item consumption. However, healing is only one aspect of the game, and having to heal at all is worse than preventing the injury in the first place. Sometimes you won't even get a chance to heal if the killer is tunneling you or using one-shot attacks. So for these reasons, I'll be putting it in the medium tier. Next up is Calm Spirit. This perk only shines when you're up against a doctor. Disturbing Crows rarely gives away a survivor's position by itself, so that aspect of it is largely useless. It could be useful to prevent killer perks like Spies from the Shadows or Iron Maiden from going off, but not many killers use those. I think it needs a buff before it's worth taking into your games. I'll be putting it in the low tier. Next we have Dance With Me. This perk is fantastic for escaping chases since it removes your scratch marks for 3 seconds, and it has a separate cooldown from exhaustion, which is nice. However, it requires you to use a locker or window in order to activate it, and even if your scratch marks disappear, unless you find a way to break line of sight with the killer, it won't do much for you. If you combine it with Quick and Quiet or Lithe, I'd call it a high tier perk, but by itself I'd say it's medium tier. Next is Dark Sense. It's a pretty lame perk since it only activates when you finish a generator, not your teammates. Realistically, you're only going to complete 1 or 2 generators most games. But what saves this perk is how it reveals the killer's aura when the last generator pops. Anyone can complete the last one and you'll gain vision on the killer. This alone is powerful enough to warrant putting it in the medium tier. Next we have Dead Hard. This perk essentially gives you an extra hit point in your chases, allowing you to waste more of the killer's time and potentially escape. However, once a killer knows you have Dead Hard, the next time you get into a chase with them, chances are they won't fall for it again. Even so, it's a great perk that often has a high impact on the outcome of a match. Up next is Decisive Strike. This perk got reworked recently, and while it's not as powerful as it used to be, it's still worth taking into your games. Escaping the killer's grasp is game-breaking as it both saves your life and wastes their time. It's become more of an anti-camping or tunneling perk now since it only lasts 60 seconds after you get unhooked, but for players who like bullying the killer, Decisive Strike should remain a viable and high-impact perk. Next is Deja Vu. If you play Dead by Daylight a lot, you'll already have a good sense of where map generators spawn, which kinda makes this perk useless. However, there is one redeeming quality about this perk, and that's how it reveals the 3 generators closest to each other. As long as you complete one of those 3 generators, you can prevent the killer from using the triple generator strategy later in the game. But other than that, it's a low tier perk. Next up is Deliverance. This perk is incredible because it allows you to make some crazy plays you'd never try otherwise because, well, they're suicidal. It's also a major time saver to unhook yourself rather than force another teammate to rescue you. The only conditions are that you unhook someone else first and that you don't get hooked first, both of which are usually doable. I'll be putting Deliverance in the high tier. Next is Detective's Hunch. I'll say this flat out, this perk is garbage and you should never use it. It only triggers when you complete a generator, and it does nothing but reveal auras of objectives for 5 seconds. Into the low tier it goes. Next up is Distortion. This is a decent perk that could save your life if you'd otherwise get caught out by killer perks like Nurse's Calling or Barbecue and Chili, but it only has 3 tokens and they tend to go fast. If it had maybe 2 more tokens it could be a high tier perk, but for now it's going into the medium tier. Up next is Head On. This perk is a lot of fun to use, but situations where you actually get to use it are rare. It also causes exhaustion and can't be used while exhausted, so that makes it less appealing than a traditional exhaustion perk. I probably should have put it in the low tier, but it could also be medium tier if you pair it with perks like Quick and Quiet or Dance With Me. Next we have Soul Survivor. This perk essentially does nothing until your team is dead, and once that happens, your own chances of survival become very low. Unless you get lucky and are up against Mirror Myers or are using this perk with Object of Obsession, it will have a low impact on the match outcome. Next up is Spine Chill. If you watch some of my previous videos, you'll know I'm a big fan of this perk. You can completely prevent chases from happening with the early warning it gives you, counter stealth killers like Wraith and Freddy, and outplay killers like Nurse and Spirit. Spine Chill's versatility cannot be understated, and if you don't believe me, try it yourself. It's going in the highest tier. Next is Stakeout. This perk is a decent counter to Hex Ruin, one of the most annoying killer perks to deal with. It also helps complete your main objective faster, which is pretty big. However, it becomes largely useless if the killer you're facing has a small tear radius, and there are quite a few killers like that in the game. It's really just luck based whether you'll get use out of it or not, and for that reason it's going in the medium tier. Up next is Sprint Burst. It's not as commonly used as other exhaustion perks because it forces you to walk if you want to keep it off cooldown, but it's still powerful and worth taking into your games. An on-demand speed boost should not be underestimated. With proper exhaustion management, you can hold the exhaustion meter to a fraction of a second and pop Sprint Burst when you need it most. I think it deserves a spot in the high tier. Next we have Hope. If a perk's only benefit activates when the last generator pops, it should do something amazing. Hope's benefit, simply put, is not amazing. It might be if it activated earlier in the game, but at the end of the game, you've already been through the majority of the chases that are going to happen. All that's left are the exit gates, and 7% extra movement speed isn't significant enough to change whatever situation you're in when the last generator pops. This is a low impact perk. Next is Kindred. This perk is great for helping your teammates manage their time effectively. They'll easily be able to tell who's going for a save, who's being chased, and who's working on generators. It also punishes camping killers. Unfortunately, it requires you to be on the hook, and the benefit only persists while on the hook, so its usefulness is dependent on how long you're in timeout, which isn't a position you ever want to be in. I'll be ranking it as a medium tier perk. Next up is Lithe. This perk is great for helping you break line of sight with a killer during a chase. However, it requires a window or pallet to use, and unlike other exhaustion perks, it creates a noise notification when vaulting. I still think it deserves a spot in the high tier, however, given how impactful it is during chases and how well it combines with perks like Quick and Quiet and Dance With Me. Next we have No Mither. This perk is just a voluntary handicap in most cases. You can combine it with other perks like Saboteur or Tenacity for some cheesy builds, but I'll never take this perk seriously in its current state. It's a low tier perk. Next up is No One Left Behind. This perk isn't even worth talking about, so enjoy this cat video.
The smallest feline in the world. A rusty, spotted cat.
Next we have Object of Obsession. From the perspective of whether a perk has a high impact on the outcome of a match, Object of Obsession probably has the highest of any perk in the game. Depending on how well you use it, you can be a constant pest to the killer while keeping yourself safe at all times. It really just depends on whether or not you like the kind of playstyle that comes with the perk. It's going into the highest tier. Next is Open-Handed. It's a somewhat useful perk when combined with Bond or Kindred, but 8 meters more of Aura Vision isn't significant enough to sacrifice a perk slot for. There is a lot of other perks you could use that offer more tangible benefits. It's a low tier perk. Next up is Pharmacy. This perk is a decent alternative to self-care and a great way to farm medkits. It also helps out your teammates if you loot chests for them and leave the items inside in case they need them later. It doesn't offer any game-breaking benefits though, and it relies on you being able to find a chest, so it's more of a medium impact perk. Next we have Poised. This perk has a powerful effect, but is totally luck-based in how useful it is. It activates whenever a generator is completed, and you don't have to be the one who completes it, by the way. This means that you could be getting chased when it triggers, making it incredibly useful, or you could be working on a generator, making it completely useless. It could have a sizable impact on how the match turns out, so I'll put it in the medium tier. Next is Premonition. It's a strong perk to use if you prefer a stealthy playstyle and plan on repairing generators most of the game, but it has a lengthy cooldown that leaves you vulnerable to surprise attacks if the killer decides to patrol your area again within 30 seconds. It also gives off a lot of false positives that often make it useless. It's really just a worse version of Spine Chill in my opinion, so it's a medium tier perk. Next up is Prove Thyself. This perk is great for generator rushing and can help complete high priority generators quickly with your team. However, it's completely useless in every other aspect of the game and does nothing if you're by yourself. So even though it has a powerful effect, the condition of being around a teammate to make use of it is why I'm ranking it as a medium tier perk. Next we have Resilience. Faster action speeds sound great. Being injured does not. The risk of being instantly downed by the killer outweighs the benefit of this perk. It's low tier. Up next is Saboteur. This perk is great for gimmick builds, but in real games where you want to win, I could never advocate using it. Sabotage takes time away you would use repairing generators, and there's no guarantee the hooks you destroy will even be near the killer when he downs your teammate. It's also countered by Iron Grasp, Agitation, and Basement hooks, so it's a low tier perk. Next is Self-Care. You already know where this belongs, so here's a meme video instead.
But sometimes, more unexpected sounds grab our attention. Like this desert rain frog.
Fresh meat.
Next up is Streetwise. This perk sounds useful since it reduces item consumption, but you should consider yourself lucky if you get to consume your item completely. Between generator repairs, chases, being hooked and unhooking teammates, items often only get used partially in most matches. This perk probably won't make much of a difference for you in your trials, so it's going in the low tier. Next we have This Is Not Happening. Similar to Resilience, the benefit this perk offers is not worth the risk of getting downed by the killer. It's a low tier perk. Up next is Will Make It. This perk grants a powerful effect, but only when you unhook someone. I have two problems with this. The first being that other teammates may go for the unhook, making this perk useless, and the second being that it encourages you to go for unhooks when you shouldn't, such as when you're working on an important generator. It's a decent perk otherwise, so I'll drop it in the medium tier. Next is Vigil. This perk turns your 40-second exhaustion cooldown into a 32-second one. That might not seem like much, but lowering the cooldowns of the most powerful perks in the game can be a big deal. This perk also stacks, by the way, so exhaustion can recover very quickly with multiple teammates running this perk. It doesn't do much else though, so it's going in the medium tier. Next up is Urban Evasion. This perk is amazing at preventing chases as it makes your character harder to see. It also counters the Hag and Huntress. Something you won't hear about this perk is that it also counters killers who are short in height. Short killers have a harder time seeing over obstacles than tall killers, and will often miss a survivor crouching behind debris, so I'll be putting this perk in the high tier. Next we have Unbreakable. You'll be lucky if you get to use this perk at all in your matches, but if you're able to, you can completely turn the tide of a game. Given how rare it is for killers to leave you on the ground after downing you, I'll be putting this in the medium tier. Up next is Up the Ante. This perk is hardly worth considering. Luck only affects 3 things in this game: your chances of unhooking yourself, freeing yourself from bear traps, and removing reverse bear traps. Unless you like staking your life on a dice roll, steer clear of this perk. It's low impact. Next is Leader. This perk is decent if you're running around with a teammate most of the game and can help shave some seconds off healing, cleansing totems, or even opening the exit gates. However, it's completely useless if you're alone and doesn't increase generator repair speed like Prove Thyself does, so I'd say it's a medium tier perk. Next is Wake Up. This perk is garbage and not worth talking about, so here's a music video instead. Next we have Quick and Quiet. This perk can get you out of some dicey situations, like escaping a locker check in the basement. You can also quietly vault windows during chases to fool the killer into thinking you're in a different direction. It also combines nicely with Lithe and Dance With Me. However, muting your noise notifications is only helpful in a few situations, so it's more of a medium tier perk. Up next is Diversion. You'll be lucky if you get to use this perk at all in your game. A lot of killers have a small terror radius, making this perk difficult to activate. And even if you do get to use it, killers will often ignore noise notifications, especially if they're already in a chase. It's a luck-based perk, and you know where those tend to go. Next is Slippery Meat. Unless you're stacking luck offerings and up the ante, this perk is not very reliable for unhooking yourself, and escaping bear traps is a really narrow use case. It's another luck-based low-tier perk. Next up is Empathy. This is a nice alternative to Bond if you're aiming for a healing build, and it offers a great deal of situational awareness. Knowing where injured teammates are helps keep you safe and make better decisions, which earns this perk a spot in the high tier. Next we have We're Gonna Live Forever. This is just a blood point farming perk, nothing to see here. Up next is Tenacity. Just like Unbreakable, the instances where a killer slugs you are going to be rare, so this perk probably won't see much use. Equipping a perk that only helps when you're downed never really made much sense to me. I'd rather have perks that help prevent me from getting downed in the first place. This is low impact in my opinion. Next is Small Game. The use cases of this perk are just too narrow to warrant taking it into your games. It's useful against Trapper and Hag and Hex totems, but that's all. It does not help against any other killers, and it becomes useless the moment the killer's totem gets cleansed. It's a low tier perk. Next we have Plunderer's Instinct. This is just an item farming perk, and won't reliably contribute to winning your matches. Another luck-based perk for the low tier heap. Next up is Breakdown. This perk is pretty good at ensuring you make a clean getaway after being unhooked. It also breaks the hook, which can force the killer to drop you if there aren't any hooks nearby. It can have a decent impact on whether you survive or not, so I'll put it in the medium tier. Next is Technician. This perk is garbage, so here's a cool indie game clip instead. Up next is Lightweight. I did a scratch mark comparison video on this perk, and the difference was quite noticeable. This perk is helpful in more than just chases though. It allows you to traverse the map more quickly and without worrying as much about the killer picking up your trail. It also is a soft counter to every killer in the game, as they all rely on scratch marks, especially Nurse and Spirit. It's a high tier perk at least. Next is Bond. If you watch my videos, you'll know this is another favorite of mine. It benefits you immensely knowing where your teammates are. The advantages are just too numerous to squeeze into a 30-second summary, but just know that using this perk can have one of the highest impacts on the outcomes of your matches. Next we have Solidarity. This perk shaves some time off your healing, but only if you and your teammate are injured. The situations where this was the case I found to be far fewer than I imagined when testing this perk out, as most players like healing themselves the moment they get the chance. I probably should have put this perk in the low tier, but I have a feeling it'll see a buff soon, so it's in the medium tier. Next up is Left Behind. This perk is garbage, so please enjoy this cartoon instead.
I brought Valentine's sweeters for everyone!
Up next is Balanced Landing. This is the most popular exhaustion perk, and for a good reason. Almost every map has a ledge you can drop off to gain a speed boost, and the recovery time from falls this perk offers opens up a whole new world of looping possibilities. This perk will save your life countless times in chases and has one of the highest impacts on survival rates. And finally, there's Iron Will. This perk does a couple things. It makes it easier for you to lose the killer when breaking line of sight, allowing you to juke the killer in situations where you'd never be able to otherwise, and reduces the penalty for staying injured so you can put off healing yourself. It's a great survival perk, and I might have overrated it here, but it at least belongs in the high tier. So if you stuck around for the whole video, you're awesome! Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe for future content.